Good morning, friends. It's time for a story. Today's story is another book I got when I was in London, and it's called The Big Blue Thing on the Hill by Yuval Zomer. Big Blue Thing. Or maybe some of you have seen animals like this, or, what is that? What is that? All right, here we go. And it was actually signed by the author. Very cool. Far away from the city, in the middle of the great forest, was a special place called Howling Hill. In the day, it was mostly peaceful and quiet because all the animals were asleep. Oh, what does that mean? Does anyone know the word that it is when it's talked about animals are asleep during the day? What kind of animals are they if they sleep during the day? But at night, the forest really came alive. Out came the foxes and the weasels. Out came the boars and the badgers. The bears lumbered out of their lairs to practice their growling. I want to hear all of you growl. Come on, you can do it louder. Growl. The wolves crept out of their dens to practice their howling. Now let's hear some howling. Oh, good job. I think the boys were a little louder, though. And all was well in the great forest at the foot of Howling Hill, until one night something terrible happened. So they're all there. Does anyone know what a boar is? This is a boar. It's a cousin to something else. First there was a rumble, then there was a roar, and finally a terrifying sight appeared right on top of Howling Hill. It's a meteorite, said the bears. It's a spaceship, said the wolves. It's trouble, said the foxes. And the foxes were right. So they all went to hide in the great forest, hoping that the trouble would soon be gone. Early next morning, the animals crept back to the foot of Howling Hill, but the trouble was still there. It's a big blue elephant, said the weasels, who had plainly never seen an elephant before. It's a big blue dinosaur, said the badgers, equally bird-brained. It's a big blue thing, said the foxes, who were right again. And everyone agreed that it seemed to be awake and should probably be left well alone until it fell asleep. And does anyone know what these are? You should have learned about them in music. If not, they are something called music notes. Yeah, music notes. So there must be music coming from that big blue thing. Perhaps we can frighten it away, suggested the wolves. When the animals returned at dusk, they waited for the moon to come up, and then they howled and howled and howled at the big blue thing. But it did not move even 1 inch. Oh, but it didn't move. Nope. They were howling. There I see some. Did you guys see that? I see some Z's. What do those Z's mean? Someone's in there snoring. Let us have a go, suggested the bears. So they growled and growled and growled at the big blue thing. But it did not move, not even 1 inch. Nope, didn't move. Perhaps we can nudge it back down the hill, suggested the boars. They huffed and puffed, and they pushed and shoved with all their might. But the big blue thing still did not move, not even the tiniest bit. Burying it, suggested the foxes. So the foxes, the badgers, and the weasels gathered around, and they dug and dug and then dug some more. But just as it looked as though their plan might work, the big blue thing made a noise. It's waking up, shouted the animals, and they all fled back to the safety of the great forest. Oh, it's waking up. No one knew what to do next, so they called a general forest meeting to ask the wise owls what to do about the problem of the big blue thing. And after some hoots and toots and rather loud whoops, the wisest old owl announced a most cunning plan. Oh, I wonder what cunning means. Do any of you know what cunning means? The plan had four very important steps, as the wisest old owl explained. 1. We summon the help of our smallest forest friends, the bees and wasps, midges and mozzies, and maybe a snake or two for good measure. 2. We ask them all nicely to form a big bug flying squad. We wait until dawn. That's when the sun comes up. Then, when the big blue thing starts to wake up, the squad must go inside the mouth of the beast. 4. They must whiz and buzz and buzz and whiz, and if necessary, nip and sting. Then, in my experience, it won't be long before that big blue thing is long gone. By the time the sun was peeking over the top of Howling Hill, a big black cloud of the forest's finest bugs, and a snake or two for good measure, were ready to zoom in. They whizzed and buzzed as they flew and crawled through every crack right inside the big blue thing. Do any of you think that this is going to leave? Or do you think these arms I see, oh, look at that, arms, might want to leave? It didn't take long before it was clear that the wise old owl had been right. With a roar and a rumble, the big blue thing turned tail and fled back down Howling Hill and away to wherever it had come from. Ouch! Ah! Yeah! So it went down the hill. Oh, yikes! They're getting stung in there. Oh. And while all the animals screeched and growled, roared and howled, snuffed and huffed, and generally made a hullabaloo, it was heard for miles and miles. After that, things got back to normal in the great forest at the foot of Howling Hill, and every day was peaceful and quiet once more, until one fine night. Okay, your job is today is to tell me what is going to happen next. What do you predict it's going to happen? Oh, I didn't predict that one. Did any of you predict a spaceship was going to happen? I did not. Okay, now I want you all to have a great Thursday. And remember, Miss Brooke misses you very, very much. Okay? And hopefully we'll get to see each other soon. I would love to see some pictures of you or maybe pictures you've drawn. Have a great Thursday.